A Zulu praise singer, a Basotho diviner, and a traditional calabash mark the beginning of another adventure for Kingsley Holgate. He is considered Africa's modern-day explorer, and for good reason. He has circumnavigated the Makharikari salt pans in Botswana and the world's largest desert lake, Turkana, in northern Kenya. He's travelled from Cape to Cairo on Africa's waterways and negotiated the length of the great Zambezi River. Interrogated by UNITA, kept under surveillance by Tutsis, this is Kingsley Holgate's life.
We're not conquerors, we're not imperialists. We see ourselves as Africans trying to know more about this wonderful continent.
Africa is indeed the life of my choice. As a family, we've travelled on foot, by ox wagon, Land Rover and inflatable boat, and spent over a decade following in the footsteps of the great missionary explorer, Dr. David Livingstone. We've carried a Zulu calabash of seawater from Shinde at the mouth of the Zambezi all the way to the source of the great river in northwestern Zambia. We shared the beauty of the river with local tribespeople, and they introduced us to the rhythm of their ancient cultures. The crocodiles, elephant and hippo, the incredible sunsets, the timeless river, and the beauty of the Victoria Falls. It's no wonder that David Livingstone in his journal wrote that this was the most incredible sight he'd ever witnessed in Africa. Angels, he said, must have paused in their flight to gaze upon such splendor. As I continued to scribble in the old expedition journal, it's no wonder that some call me the greybeard of adventure. But fortunately, there have been some other wonderful expeditions. Even a world-first circumnavigation of the globe by land, following the Tropic of Capricorn through 10 countries, across Africa, South America, Australia, and Madagascar. These wonderful journeys of discovery changed our lives forever and increased our love for this fascinating continent. Now, after a lifetime of adventuring, it is our time to give something back to the people of Mama Africa. Yes, it's by Land Rover, it's on foot, it's by inflatable boat. And now, in the spirit of adventure, an ancient old sailing dhow of the same design that's been used for centuries. And the sort of humanist turnabout is that it was dhows like this that used to rape Africa, carrying slaves, human cargo, ivory. And now, we'll be carrying mosquito nets for mums and babies. Our African Rainbow Expedition takes us to remote areas that don't have normal health services. It's all part of our malaria distribution campaign in support of malaria prevention. One net, one life. You know, in villages like this, you might find that less than 2% of the people have nets. Just one life to live and so many great humanitarian journeys still to do. The geographic objective being to track the outline of Africa through 33 countries. And so we filled the calabash at the Cape of Good Hope, where in a massive act of solidarity, 347 South African Land Rovers escorted us out of Cape Town. An essential piece of luggage was a scroll of peace and goodwill in support of malaria prevention, endorsed by Nobel Peace Prize laureates Nelson Mandela and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. The humanitarian objectives were clear: malaria prevention, a Teaching on the Edge program, and a Right to Sight campaign in which spectacles were distributed to poor-sighted people in remote areas, so continuing to improve and save lives through this adventure. over the 449-day, 67,000-kilometer, 33-country journey to track the outside edge of Africa now behind us, it's time for a new Land Rover Odyssey. This time, the adventure will be aptly called Boundless Southern Africa. Starting at the Durban Tourism Endeavour, it was a great 100-day journey from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic. Its clear objective was to link 9 southern African countries, 7 trans-frontier conservation areas, and more than 30 game and nature reserves, and the communities that live in and adjacent to these areas. The theme of this boundless journey was nature, culture, and community. We'd like to thank Land Rover for their support in our malaria bracelet campaign. Beaded bracelets that are sold to support the efforts in the fight against malaria, which in turn creates the energy for our next expedition, which is called 2010 United Against Malaria, leaving from Lesedi Cultural Village on African Malaria Day, the 25th of April 2010. The clear expedition objective was to use the energy of the 2010 World Cup to highlight the need to fight the killer disease of malaria. It was a great expedition in which tens of thousands of long-lasting, life-saving mosquito nets were distributed to pregnant mothers and to mothers with children under the age of 5 years. The high geographic points of the expedition were taking a United Against Malaria banner to the very top of Mount Molangi, highest point in Central Africa, and then on to summit Margarita Peak in the Ruwenzori's, the famed Mountains of the Moon. And finally, with ex-Springbok cricketer Jonty Rose, they summited Uhuru Peak, highest point in Africa, at the top of Kilimanjaro, tallest freestanding mountain in the world. With all these great Land Rover expeditions now successfully behind us, a question that is so often asked, with the beard getting sort of a bit long and grey, is, isn't it time to hang up one's boots? And the obvious answer is never. With just 5 of the 47 countries left that make up the continent of Africa, our next Land Rover challenge is aptly called All Africa. It's a journey to embrace all of Mama Africa. And so the Land Rover All Africa expedition began, a rough, tough journey that took us across the Sahel countries of Burkina Faso, Niger and Chad, and then on to the Central African Republic to the capital of Bangui, just in time for its 50th anniversary celebrations, a colourful affair involving boat races on the Ubangi River. It was a great adventure, and a team of South African volunteers flew in on a C-130 transport plane and with the help of the Jane Goodall Institute rescued a desperate chimpanzee which was then flown back to South Africa. Our All Africa journey then took us into the very heart of the Congo Basin rainforests and then on to Equatorial Guinea. Mission accomplished, proving that it can be done in a Land Rover. Land Rover, we salute you. You are the only 4x4 to have been able to complete All Africa. Not only have you done this fascinating adventure, but you have used these Land Rover adventures to improve and save lives. Congratulations.